Welcome to part 2 of this epic 160k paragliding flight. If you wonder how we got here, please watch part 1. It's really cool, you will learn a ton and it's absolutely gorgeous flying. So we have made just enough altitude to cross the Lago Maggiore. Usually there is some south wind, so I'm heading into the Louvre side on this ridge initially. But it's always a bit tough to find a thermal over there, so I have not done this transition very often, and it's a bit new land for me as well. So I'm heading here because I thought this would be the logic point to head over. However, there was no thermal whatsoever, so I actually went into the lee side down here and have done this transition once before, and actually there it was exactly the same. So maybe in the future I will head for the lee straight away. Just a quick note, you can see that the lake is actually quite clear, so it's quite reflective. So this means there is not so much wind down below, so it's actually not so unsafe to go a bit down to the lee side here because the wind is quite weak. So I do hook a thermal here, and it's always a bit mysterious to me why this thermal is actually at this place here, because the sun doesn't really hit the face correctly, and I'm just generally surprised that it actually works here. But as often in paragliding, you have a theory how it should work and how it actually works. Those are two different things. So beggars can't be choosers. I'm taking the thermal. I want to go up. I want to continue my flight. So I'm taking it up, and it climbs weakly but reliably. So I'm all happy. You can see there are good clouds above me. So I'm thermaling up in order to join these clouds. And you can see I'm reaching base and it's all good. So I can continue my journey onwards towards the next turn point. I'm surfing these clouds here, so I always love to fly close to the clouds. It just looks so epic. You see in the next transition, there's not so many landing places at the bottom, but there's a good looking cloud above it, so I'm very confident that I can climb up there. And I'm not too worried, so I head over to this next trigger and immediately find a climb, so I climb back up towards space. Soon enough there will be another big transition, so I just fly underneath the clouds. I'm already at max altitude, but I still want to position myself a little bit better in order to do this long transition. And I actually failed to find another climb. You can see I was trying on this good sunny ridge, there was nothing, and here I'm heading for these wisps, but also here I can't really find a climb. So ultimately I just say, okay, I have to go with the altitude I have. I head over. You can see there's another good cloud actually above this hill. But when I first hit the hill, I don't find the thermal. So I actually turn around a bit. I have to fly a bit crosswind, and then I find the thermal, as you can see. So this is actually quite a good climb, and it brings me up quite smoothly. And this is also important because around here the terrain gets quite difficult. So what you don't see, there's some airspace to the right hand side. And a bit torn if I should either fly to the good looking clouds to the left or go straight, as I actually chose in the end. So here I'm going straight, and I want to fly towards the south, which I'm heading now. But to the right of me there is airspace. So I'm really aiming for this ridge in front of me. I mean, as a further input, we have now a headwind. It's a south wind. So I actually just push across this little spine here, and you can see I can immediately start soaring in this spine, which is now in the Louvre side. So it's a mix between thermals and soaring. And I'm quite happy that I can climb up here, because to the right was all airspace and it looked a little bit bleak. So now I'm super happy. So I rode the thermal and the dynamic wind up to the ridge, and now there's a good climb where I actually can connect. So now I want to take enough altitude that I can reach the next trigger point, which is marked by this really awesome cloud. Just look at the movement of the cloud in the time lapse. I always find this super amazing to watch. Of course, you don't realize it this much when you're flying, but in the time lapse, it just looks awesome. And as you can see, it really delivers. So it's really the climb that you want, that you expect, and I can get up to base in absolutely no time. So at this point I think, oh yeah, okay, I've climbed to base, maybe I just glide over the lake and then come back to this climb in order to make it home for sure. But often then I think like, yeah, but maybe you don't get so often here and it still looks not so bad ahead. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna continue just a couple of ridges more and then I'll turn back. And you can see I'm actually pushing further, and you can see there's a good cloud to the right, which I don't know where it came from because it's not really above the terrain. It's out into the valley, and there was not such a good climb neither. So yeah, I don't know what is going on with this cloud, but I can just soar the south face again of this little hill, as again we still have a prevailing south wind, which is normal in the afternoon in this area because we are quite in the pre-Alps. You will see later on we actually make it all the way to the flats, but that's a bit of a spoiler. And you always have this wind coming from the flats towards the mountains, which just equilibrates the pressure difference that they create during the day. So yeah, enough theory. I continue my flight. I push again into this ridge. It's again a mix between dynamic climbing and also some thermaling, and it actually works quite nice. So you can see it's a good massive ridge. The sun hits this face quite nicely, and I really think, okay, now I can race a bit and I just fly some straight line. It's super good views with the lake and the mountain. It's really, I love this. I love this scenery. I love this area. And this is Monte Generoso just underneath me. So I can climb and I can just push along this good looking face, and it's really fast flying. So now we are heading to the end of this Monte Generoso ridge, and at the very end there is the Po flatlands. So this is Italy at the end, and it's just all flat. So the Alps have finished, and it's quite amazing to arrive at this point. But of course it's a bit then slow going, I think, in the flats, so I do turn around. I want to still make it home. I don't want to get stranded somewhere down there. So I turn around, I'm heading again for the ridge. I know it will work very nicely, but I also know that we have quite a bit of south wind. So in general I try to stay above the ridge line, because once you get below the ridge line, you have to worry much more about which side is the loose side, which is the lee side, will you get rotored, where is actually the thermal coming from the left, from the right, from the back, from the front. But as long as you're above the ridge, you don't have to worry about all that, and you just can fly straight line. So now I'm looking actually for a good thermal, because I want to climb as high as possible in order to make the transition back over the lake. And I have the luck to climb a little bit on the edge of the cloud, as you can see here. It looks really cool, and also enables me to get enough altitude to make it back over the lake. Because you remember in the beginning when we came here, I could not really climb under this little hill to the left that we just saw here. So I just passed straight towards the lake, towards this next cloud. And again, I'm quite a bit lucky, so I can climb one more time and head to this transition. So we have come to the end of part 2. If you want to see if I make the crossing, how it continues, watch part 3. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.